why self-reflection is much more important than action, the things we do, our activity and the practical things we do. Now, self-reflection work as a presupposed of our action. Self-reflection is much more valuable, much more important rather than our activity, our actions, and the things we do. Now, there are multiple reasons behind that. Number one reason is that self-reflection is presupposed, which implies that it is the self-reflection which defines the direction and the strength and the quality of our action. Now, basically, what is self-reflection? When the self itself, it is reflecting over itself. Now, we can think about our own thoughts, which is some form of metacognition. Maybe we are thinking about something and then again creating a sort of a distance, and then returning to our own thoughts, so that we can create new set of reasons against of our own previous thoughts. And in this very manner we can gather more information, we can mentally sort of perceive much more larger portion of reality through all this reasoning and through all this self-reflection. Now, this self-reflection, it in a way work as a presupposed and as a sort of pushing or initiating ourselves into different actions. For example, let's say I am doing a business, but in a way my business, for some reason it's failed. Now I have to begin a new project, a new business, or maybe I have to just try for a government job or whatever it is. Now in between these two, I have to reflect over myself, and this very self-reflection from one failure to a different, or maybe from one project, maybe you are preparing for a business or for a government job and now you are successful, but now after the success you have to begin a new project. Now you are failure or you are successful, it doesn't matter. Now in between two different projects you are reflecting over yourself. Now this self-reflection is going to define the direction of your action, in what direction you are going to be active, in what way you are going to perform all of your human activities. This is the very self-reflection that pushing our actions and the direction and defining the direction of our life. The second most important thing is that self-reflection is always, in a way, is like expanding ourselves, in a way like evolving to a new height, because it is the self who is dividing itself, and one portion of it we are projecting to a different and more alienated portion, to a different idea, to a different person, and from that position we are returning to ourselves. And this is how we are reflecting over ourselves. Now this projection to something else, some otherness, some other thing, other subject, from other to other ideas, now and then returning to ourselves, in this way we are expanding the self. For example, now you went to an interview, and then for some reason you have failed in that interview, and now what you are doing, you are reflecting about that. What you are doing, you are just projecting a part of yourself over the idea of that interview, someone who is taking your interview. Now the interviewer, when you are projecting yourself over the interviewer, from that position you are imagining what are the flaws you have done, what are the mistakes you have made, and how you can improve it. So a part of yourself you are projecting over someone else, over some other, and in that way you are returning to yourself, and for that you are just expanding your own existence, you are expanding yourself. And how far we can project ourselves, this gap in between the self and a portion of ourself which we are projecting on the world, on maybe we are thinking about ourselves from someone else's perspective, from a third person point of view. Maybe we are thinking about our own activities, about our own thought process, about our own perception of reality from the perception of our friend, from the perception of our husband, our wife, our parents, and our teacher, and so on. So this projection of our own self on someone else and then returning to ourselves, this total thing is the self. Now how far we can project, and this gap creates the potential, this gap is the scope for our evolution. It is the scope of our growth and improvement in our life. Now, if we don't create this gap, if we don't reflect over ourselves from a distant point, we cannot grow up. Now, how far we can project, how how far we can project ourselves. We can think of ourselves from what perspective. Like, one thing is that I am thinking about the world, or I am thinking of some particular person or some particular concern. And then another thing is that someone else is thinking about me, of which I have no clue. And there is a third thing, which is I am thinking that what someone else can think of me. Now, this is I am thinking of about someone else's perception of me. So I am projecting myself over the someone. Now, in this way, what I am trying to do is I am expanding myself. Now, how far I can project? Who can be this someone? Who is the most suitable thing, or what is the most suitable thing in this whole world to perceive ourselves from a third person point of view? Now, here comes, I think, the religious idea. Generally, we think that we have to believe in God, that we have to believe there is a God and God is going to save us. Or if you don't believe in the God, then that's why you are suffering in life. That's why you are doing mistakes and so on. So my point is this very the opposite of it. Now, we no need to believe in God, but rather we need to believe that God believes in us. So we have to project ourselves not over just our husband, wife, or friends, or some social figure, or anyone else, or anything, but rather we have to project ourselves over God. It is not that how we as a subject perceive God, but rather it is about how God perceives us. Now, we have to project ourselves over God, and we have to think through this self-reflection that how God perceives us, and we have to believe in this idea that God believes us, and so that I can do anything I want in the life, I can achieve anything I want in the life or in any way. Okay, so this is, I think, the very importance and the potential of self-reflection. Through self-reflection, we can we can discover new heights in our cognitive capacity, in our life, and so on. So I think it is very important to share with you. If you like this video, then don't forget to subscribe the channel. I hope I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much. I hope you are practicing self-reflection.